Welcome to the Small Business Surgeon Podcast, the show where we dissect the businesses of top producers, examine their growth strategies, and share with you the bare bones of their success. I am your host, Samuel Smith, and I'm glad you're here. Let's operate. All right, hello and welcome again to another episode of the Small Business Surgeon. I'm your host, Samuel Smith. I want to thank you so mumuch for joining us today, and I also want to thank our guest today, a good and a recent friend of mine, Mr. Steve Tinkle. Steve, thanks for coming on the show.
Always glad to be here.
Man, we have made friends here recently over the last year and a half, and we've actually become pretty good friends because Steve and I, we move in similar circles. Steve's self-proclaimed job title, as you can find him on LinkedIn, is Chief Doer. What exactly, Steve, explain to the listeners at home, what exactly is a chief doer there, mate?
Well, every business has things that have to get done.
Right.
So somebody has to do them. And so I was working with a company once where we were looking at titles, and I don't really care about the title. It's more for external people than internal.
Of course, yeah.
But they said, well, what do you want on your title? And I said, let's just put what I do. And they said, what you do is you are the chief doer of business. So how do we make that into a title? And I said, well, I think you've got one. Let's just go with that.
I totally understand that. So you work, the reason I wanted to bring you on Small Business Surgeon so early on in the episode cycles is that you work in a very similar, if not slightly elevated vein of what I do. You actually help businesses go from maybe even just concepts on napkins all the way up to 9 figures and beyond, right?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be a part of some good business stories. You know, we've had ideas that were on napkins. One that was literally on a mattress of a bed that we transitioned into.
Whoa. Did you find it on the mattress or did you write it yourself on a mattress?
We actually stopped it from being on the mattress. We can get into that if you want.
I mean...
but, you know, sometimes it's just literally a concept or an idea, a seed thought, if you will. And then, you know, one business, we went from 0 to 1.9 million in 8 months. Okay. Which honestly was too fast.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have grown that quick. And there were a lot of problems along the way. But then, $23 million company once we worked with. And then some that go up, to over 100 million. But the basic concepts of what we do to grow a business are all the same.
So in the famous words of the interviewer on Office Space, what is it that you would say that you do here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I help businesses grow. Every business gets to a point where it's stuck. And that can be different reasons, marketing, people. Usually it has something to do with the people and the culture of the business.
Right.
If you get the mission and the culture right, the rest, if you're good about maintaining your culture, the rest usually will take care of itself. I'll help with strategy, accountability, marketing and sales, whatever we need to do to get the business healthy. Because one of my principles is that if it's healthy, it will grow.
Absolutely.
In nature.
Yeah.
So backwards is true as well, that if it's not growing, it's probably not healthy.
So what do you think the most common fault that you find in businesses? Because with me, just starting out in my journey as a paid coach, I mean, I've been helping people for a long time, but just starting out in that journey, I'm discovering that pretty much everybody has the same set of issues, be it undefined goals, be it undefined core values. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. I'm seeing, as I'm coming out, patterns of issues. What patterns have you seen that kind of come up from repeatedly, and how do you address those with business owners?
Well, it's a complicated question because as you're explaining that, like a lot of thoughts flush into me.
Right. This is small business surgery.
Yeah. So when you say patents, my first thought, are we talking about patent law or are these
No, that's a patent. Not small business with crayons, Steve. Right. The idea is to put complicated and challenging questions in front of my guests so they can impart knowledge.
One thing I've learned, so just so you understand about me, my mission in life has been to demystify success.
Okay.
And then to be the mentor that I never had. And so in learning that and pursuing that, I do see a lot of patterns. And one of the things that I've learned is the most powerful thing in this world is a thought. Just one thought can change your entire world. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. So if you find that right thought, then it'll change your trajectory. So when you say, what is it about businesses that holds them back? A lot of times it's the thought process of the founder.
I can agree with that.
It gets in the way. It's the way that they think. And I don't want to be generic with your audience. We can get into specifics if you want.
Go for it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a self-limiting thought or listening to other people. But there's also other things too that are more applicable. Like I would say, start with the end in mind. Stephen Covey said that a long time ago. So what is the goal of your business, and then work backwards? A lot of people get stuck doing the wrong thing.
You'd be shocked how few people actually realize that. And it took me a long time to figure it out. It's like I always equate it to, you want to go on a road trip, you're sitting there in the car, the tank's full of gas, but if you don't know your destination, you're just going to sit and go around in circles.
It's true. And the thing, too, I want people to understand is you're the only one who can set that destination. You want to go to Hawaii or New York, it does not matter to me.
Right.
But if we're in Texas, then we need to start going a certain direction, but you're going to have to be the one to tell us. And, generically speaking, as long as we move in the right direction, we're eventually going to get there. But are we going to walk? Are we going to ride a bike? Are we going to get on an airplane? That depends on how you want to get there, too.
The way I see it is the vehicle for the journey is initially it's your job, and then as you progress through your job and you change careers and you level up and you start your own business, that vehicle for the journey becomes the business, and you go from driving say a Nissan Altima all the way through driving a Mercedes and then all the way flying on a private jet. It's your business is your vehicle for the journey to get to where you want to go.
It should be. And then honestly, the business is there to serve you as the owner. And so one of the first questions I ask people is, what do you want from this thing that makes it worth your time to put up with all the things that you're going to have to do to make this business what it needs to be? And sometimes I ask that question later because that's where I'm brought in. Someone asked me once, how come your clients are so messed up and broken? It's like, would you ask that question of a doctor? I mean, that's true. The nature of the business. I don't help people that don't have problems or who like everything is fine, everything's great. You would never come to me. The people that I've worked with and been fortunate enough to be involved with have two things in common, which is they're aspirational and they're frustrated.
Right.
So there's no aspiration. What are we doing? We're just, I'm going to help you be the same. That doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
And if you got it all figured out or you're not frustrated, then you're not going to be seeking help. And so I would say in that, if you're aspirational, what is it that you're trying to do? What are you trying to create? Why are you doing it? And actually take the time to write that down.
You see, what I found with a lot of people that don't do that, their biggest goal with starting a business is to just pay the bills, just replace their job. And then they'll come to me and they've been doing the same thing for 3 years and they wonder why they're not growing. I say, well, what was your goal? And they're like, well, we're just trying to pay bills. I'm like, well, are you paying bills? I'm like, yeah. All right, congratulations. You've succeeded. You're a success. You hit the goal you set. And most people don't think beyond that. And it's like a light bulb moment going off and you can see it behind their eyes with like, oh, shit. All I set out to do was pay bills, so that's all I've done. And when
that was your thought.
Right.
And you fulfilled it.
Oh, absolutely. So you are a success. You're successful at what you set out to do. And most people I've come across or that I've had the privilege of starting to work with haven't even laid that out. They haven't defined, what am I here for? Where am I going?
Well, then that comes to motivation too, which, I think you need that. Who wrote Can't Hurt Me? David Goggins?
David Goggins, yeah.
So Goggins said something in his book I thought was interesting. He says you normally when you set a goal, you're normally sitting on the couch and you're very comfortable and you're
correct.
And then you actually go do the work, which does not usually involve sitting on the couch and being comfortable, and then you lose your motivation. Business is the same way. You may set a goal to do something, but then when the work happens, then you're like, where's your motivation? So I think you need to find that.
Oh,
I was talking to someone.
Absolutely.
And they wanted, so what do you want from life? And this wasn't a typical consulting type agreement. It was just a conversation. And for me, I cannot help myself from wanting to help other people.
No, you're a natural at it. Yeah.
So sometimes I have to get permission. It's like, is it okay if I speak into your life? And my specialty has been female entrepreneurs. Even though I don't market that way, it was never an intentional thing. It just kind of has naturally evolved like that. And so I was talking to her and I said, what do you want? And she said, honestly, I want to travel with my daughters. I want to be able to take them and do things with them that I didn't get to do when I was young. I said, that sounds like a great motivation for a business. Where do you want to take them? So then she told me this destination that she wanted to go to, a place that she never got to go to as a child. But to be empowered enough to take her own daughters by her own hand, the money that she made would be very rewarding as an experience. And I said, well, that sounds like a great motivation for starting a business. How much does it cost to do that trip? So we worked out the details of what it would cost. And so imagine for you, where's your ideal destination? You want to go to Australia? You want to go to Disneyland?
Right.
You want to go to Hawaii?
But
figure out the cost, and then we're going to work backwards and we're going to go make that money.
If you don't write that down and commit to it, you'll just keep paying the bills.
And I would say take a piece of paper and draw a little thermometer and put the number at the top. And let's start filling up, because I want you to, and keep in mind, this is someone who's going to be starting the business technically from scratch.
Yeah.
With a goal of making a certain amount of money.
You always used to see those. You always used to see those thermometers on the Save the Church roof campaigns when I was a kid. I remember those. Yeah, for sure. But I like what you said about backing into stuff and starting with the end in mind, because when you look at a project, or you look at a business, or you look at a goal and say, hey, I want to do $1 million in revenue this year. $1 million that's a lot of money.
You make it 1 year.
Yeah, in revenue. $1 million in revenue is a lot of money.
Can't be. But again,
exactly. When you make it easier, when you break it down, you're like, well, that's just under $3,000 a day, right? So what if I can sell something that makes me $100 in revenue when I sell it? Well, I got to sell 30 of those in a day. Well, now it starts to get a little bit simpler. And that $1 million target that you're just daydreaming about, once you back into it and actually make a plan and realize, hey man, I've only got to sell $3,000 worth of stuff today to hit $1 million in a year, life suddenly it gets a lot clearer.
Well, this can get into mindset too.
Go for it.
A lot of people will think about their business, and I tell you where I got stuck early on too was my passion. What is my passion? And so people want to do something that's in their passion, and so, which I got tired of that. It's like, honestly, if one other person tells me to follow your passion, I'm gonna punch you in the mouth. It's like, give me a better. I don't know what my passion is, because I can be passionate about so many things, and so. Well, somebody said it differently, and then I recognized it. He said, what is it that you do for free that no one could stop you from doing? And immediately I was like, give business advice.
Yeah.
I see it. It just jumps off the page at me. And then I go tell you about it, because I want to help you, and I assume you want to know. And I promise you, for those people who think I'm rude, the business owner wants to know the truth. They need to know the truth. You're being mean to someone when you don't tell them their business isn't working, because they need your feedback. Most people are so afraid to give it to them.
Dude, that's how you and I are so similar, because if I get to sitting across the table at the bar with somebody and drinking my Diet Coke and still staying sober, but when I get in those kind of situations, I will talk and talk and talk and talk just as much as I can and share the experiences that I've had, and we
appreciate that. We know what it's like to not have something, and maybe to not even have encouragement. Literally this week, I was talking to a guy who was going to lay tile on like just an exposed concrete floor. He had done it with someone else, but he'd never done it himself.
Right.
And he had this weird body language going on. I said, what's going on with you? And he's like, I don't know. Come here, I want to talk to you for a second. So he pulls me aside and he says, I don't know that I know what I'm doing. I think I can do this. I've never done it by myself. And so I could see that fear in him. And that I said, look, you can do this. Like, what is the doubt? And one of his friends told him, you can't do this. You have no business doing this job. So I'm like, why would you tell someone that? Like, he wants to do something better with his life. He's taking a step in that direction. Why wouldn't you be there to encourage him? I don't understand that.
Well, the reason I've found is, and it's been written about many times, is the analogy of the crab bucket. And when you see somebody succeeding, man, my life has changed so much since I stopped hanging out with those people. And I stopped hanging out with people that doubted me, and I started hanging out with people that believed in me, and people that encouraged me, and people that mentored me, and people that lifted me up and said, you can do this, you're doing a great job. I mean, I had one girl, she's a coach in Ryan Stewman's Apex program, and she looked at my stuff and said, you do realize that tens of thousands of people see what you do, right? I'm like, no. And just the fact that if all these people are listening to you, maybe you do know a little bit about what you're talking about. And then another guy,
I don't want that to be your criteria, though.
Well, no, but
it's like you have something valuable to add.
Right.
And you may not find the people yet, but that gets back to why are you doing this? And for you, you know there's people who need what you have to say. And you know that you have value to add, even if it's just experiences. You know, when someone says, if you only know 4 chords on a guitar, then find someone who only knows 3 and teach them.
Ain't that the truth? That is the truth. In 4 chords, you can play most of the songs in all of Western music. So I guess that's a lesson for another podcast.
Yeah, but you know, like I say, going back to this lady who wants to travel with her kids, does it matter what business she goes into?
No, not at all.
But a lot of times people get stuck on the business idea, which there's simple, we can give practical ideas on how to do that too, that I occasionally get to speak over at A&M, and that's one of the questions they ask about is, how do you pick or go into business? And they always start with the product,
right? Which
is a problem, because you get this idea. Mm-hmm. So usually it begins with, I was in this situation and I was watching this thing and I thought, there's got to be a better way.
Right.
So there's definitely going to be a market for it. And people get stuck in that, or they're stuck in following their passion, and then they get busy and they don't ever do anything of any value. There's so many businesses that fail, that were dumb ideas that should have never been started, that take an incredible amount of wealth away.
Yeah.
Like, you should have put the money into something else. And so what I see in the world is there's a great void in knowledge and skill of how to be successful in business.
The good news is, though, that there has never, ever been a time in recorded history where so much knowledge has been so freely available. You know, I look to YouTube to learn stuff. I pay for coaching courses online. I Google stuff. I mean, you know, there's the old joke that all you've got to do to be successful in business is Google stuff quicker than your clients. But what I want to get back to is the fact that you didn't go to college, or the fact that I didn't learn that, or the fact that, well, my degree is in, I don't know, political science. It doesn't apply to whatever. It doesn't matter. There is so much information out there, and the ability to teach yourself. And then a lot of these places actually have, you know, certifications that are getting recognized on a national level just from going online and doing courses online. And I think we're going to see a real shift in how continuing education happens over the next 5 or 6 years, especially with the way COVID shut schools down this year and made everything distance learning. Yeah. People are getting a lot more used to the idea of distance learning qualifications.
That's part of it. There's another part of it too, and it goes to your point about access to information. Mm-hmm. The public, I don't think, has ever really had much transparency in what goes on in our schools. So now that kids are being pushed home, and the parents are getting a look at how things actually work in the public school system, and seeing some of the inefficiencies and how things are taught, there's a lot more scrutiny there. There's a lot more access to the information, and what that's going to do is cause people to see an imbalance in expectations and reality. And I believe from that frustration will be born new educational learning methods. There'll be new ways of teaching kids. There'll be more people contributing to the conversation around education, which is a topic that has been needing some help. I
mean, that's good. In my opinion, education should be one of the things that we invest in most heavily, both for ourselves, our children, and as society as a whole. I think there's a whole lot of problems in society that you could cure with massive amounts of education funding in, 3-year-olds onwards. They say, show me a 7-year-old and I'll show you the man. And where it's really important, are we properly funding those kids?
Good point.
It's audio. They can't see you nodding. Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of society's problems can be solved with education. But for me, whenever I want to learn a new skill set, podcasting, for example, or back in my internet marketing time, when I was learning internet marketing and learning how to become an advertiser and sell products online and all that kind of stuff, I bought courses. I paid for courses from people that were already successful in the marketplace doing that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs overlook that. I think they think that they have to do it themselves, they have to know it all, and they forget that they've got this massive amount of resources that's sitting right there at their fingertips on Google and on YouTube especially.
Yeah, and honestly, no matter what you're learning, there's always different layers of it. On the surface, maybe everything is very visible and easily like, hey, there's something I don't know. We used to show this graph to people at Seed Sumo when we would say, why should you work with us? A little pie graph. Mm-hmm. A little tiny sliver that says what you know. There's another little sliver that says what you don't. You know that you don't know. Mm-hmm. But probably 70% of it, was what you don't know that you don't know. And if you were a Shrek fan, you would see that It's like the onion. You start to peel away the layers.
Yeah.
But then you realize nobody likes onions. Let's switch over and talk about parfaits. There's a whole parfait of knowledge that you can work your way down deeper and deeper and deeper, and you can go as deep in something as you want. But if you just get started, maybe you start with the whipped cream, make it nice and easy, and you can work your way down to the bottom.
I fucking hate you. So he warned me before we started this podcast. He's like, I'm going to work a parfait analogy in here somewhere. And I've been sitting and wondering, how are we going to get to parfaits from business? But layers, very good. Very, very good. Well, bravo, sir. Bravo. So let me ask you this then, while we're going a little bit deeper into who you are. How did you become a coach? How did your career take you to the point where it's at now? Because now you drive your very nice car, and you wear your hoodie and your blue jeans and your Chuck Taylors, and you're kicking it, man. I mean, you've
backwards hat.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention the fact that he is wearing a backwards baseball hat. Kyle and the guys are down in Houston today, and they took a bunch of my cables for the cameras, so we're not actually
saying you're missing out on that. Well, part of why we're doing backwards hat day is I'm working on a business project that probably in the last 72 hours I may have slept 8 hours. So today was like I slept in, so I got a whole 4 hours last night, and so I didn't have time to do the proper justice today.
Right on. Yeah, he's normally so well put together.
Yeah, instead of the hoodie, I'm normally wearing I have two dress codes, so today is a little more casual. But yeah, it's. So how I became in this role was one of necessity and also curiosity for me. I've always been very curious about business and how things work. And I grew up in the country. We're very poor. And there was no one around me that I could learn from for success. But I had ideas of how things could work or what the business world was like.
Right.
But there was no one there to tell you what to do, what knowledge to reach for, or any ideas.
Well, yeah, I mean, shit, all we had growing up was a bookshelf. And there was nobody else to reach up to. I grew up in the country as well. I had a very good upbringing based on the education I got from that bookshelf, having that resource there. But boy, the internet.
Yeah, speaking of education, I remember we lived in this beat up trailer house in the middle of nowhere out in East Texas, and a traveling salesman came to sell my mother encyclopedias. Just knocked on the door of this trailer house. We didn't have money for that.
Right.
But somehow she made it work. She wanted her kids, to have education. And I remember just randomly looking through one of the encyclopedias, and it showed 1011 plus 1000. And it showed that it equaled ones and zeros. The number 2 didn't appear anywhere. And I thought, that's weird. I even know that. This is the wrong kind of math. I don't even know what's in these books. And apparently I turned to something that showed binary and how you add binary numbers together. And so 1 plus 1 is 10.
Yeah.
Technically, in binary converting, the way we would see it. Here I am, like, not a 5-year-old little boy anymore. And I still remember that. It just made such an impression on me. And oddly enough, I've done a lot of things with computers, understand the binary system now, and can program and code in it. But, it can change the course of your life. And, there was no one to speak in my life that could even tell you or encourage you. If anything, they made fun of me or told me that's not how the world works. So you need to get your mind around how it does work.
So you were born and raised in East Texas. Mm-hmm. Where on earth did you get that accent?
I got rid of it.
On purpose?
Rid of my accent. Do I have one now, do you think?
No. It's quite neutral.
So I went to, thank you, that was my intent. So I went to college in Daytona Beach at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to study aerospace engineering.
Oh, wow.
And then everyone from there was from up north, mostly. But they had New England accents. Mm-hmm. And they were laughing at me, and I said, what's so funny? And they said, well, there's 2 things. One of them, what is broken? I said, what do you mean what's broken? And they said, well, you keep saying you're going to fix something. Fixing to eat, or you're fixing to go to class. Said,
oh, that's bad, dude. That's bad.
And then they said, and you say it with an accent. And I said, I don't have an accent. And then they laughed at me, and they said, you say I don't have an accent with an accent. And I remember thinking that for country people, your accent causes people to judge you.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the natural inclination is like a British accent, is you're educated. There's something about it. The country accent, you're uneducated.
It's funny. My dialect is it's softened now, just being in Texas, but my dialect is northern and is historically seen as an uneducated British accent. So it's funny that you guys see it as educated, because my dialect is seen as the uneducated one. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I remember the thought for me was newscasters. You can't place where a newscaster's from.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I vowed to. There were two things that I removed in my life. One is I was taught to be a racist, and I did that when I was in college. I didn't.
Well, good for you.
Not feel natural for me. And then I removed my accent, and people have commented on it. And my daughter says when I go back to East Texas and I spend time around my family, it starts to creep back in a little bit. But I didn't want to be held back.
Dude, with me, it's instant. I pick up the phone to my dad, and it's like that. And none of my friends that are in the room that overhear it can understand a word, because it's. And maybe I'll do some podcasts from England next time I go, and you can hear how my voice changes. But no, that's something else. I understand where you're coming from. My sister works in London, and people made fun of her in her early 20s. Her peer group made fun of her for her accent, and would ask when she was going to go and work back down the coal mine, that kind of stuff. But it's a very real thing. So I like how you made the conscious decision to get over that and move past it.
Well, I think the measure of what a person is capable of is only in their own heart and mind. And the point of our peers, why do our peers not build us up? And it makes me wonder, the answer for me is yes, I do. I build other people up, even when they're not my people, because I believe in people and I believe in what we're capable of. And I would devote my life to service of others in that way, of helping them believe something is possible. And there's enough people in the world telling you can't do it.
One of my coaches teaches over and over again that you are the amalgamation of your 5 closest friends.
Bad five. That's exactly where I was going to go next. And the people you spend your time around will determine your weight, your savings, your investment, your retirement, your wealth.
So this group I'm in right now, and out of my friend group at the bar, I'm probably the most in shape out of my friend group at the bar.
You're bringing the average up.
And I'm not in shape. I'm 20 pounds overweight, but out of my friend group, I never felt fat. And so I've started to level up my the guys I'm hanging out with. Yeah. And I was at a mastermind session last week, and there's 10 other guys there, all of them just absolute killers. And every single one of them, whether he was in his 30s or his 40s or approaching his 50s, every single one of them was in shape. And I was like, well, damn, we got another mastermind session in 90 days. And I set myself the target of not being the fattest guy in the group. That's awesome. In 90 days. And I don't feel fat. I hang around my friends and I'm just I'm normal. But boy, with these guys, they're encouraging me to be in better shape. And they're encouraging me, to do more in my business. And they're encouraging me where to invest my money. And
they'll change your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely.
And, and that's the thing of if you want to start your own business or you want to grow your business, any of those things, they're all in the same category, it's possible. I promise you, no matter where you are, whatever you believe, you really can do it. Now, you may not have immediate access to the people or resources you think, but really, once you change your thoughts, you'll start looking for and finding them. So when you're talking with other people and you're hearing them talk about their things, like my Fab Five, they're business guys. And they're all probably some of the most successful people that I've ever spent time around. And because of that, we talk about things around success. We also talk about our families and life and spirituality and how hard life can be. But those conversations are affecting our thoughts.
Those guys understand that, though. The one problem I had before I made a switch consciously was finding guys that understood what I was going through every day and what I was living through. And then when you hang around with people that are more successful and self-made than you, because I've hung out with rich people before and I didn't really like them. No disrespect to rich people, but I've hung out with guys with trust funds that have inherited money, and it's just when you hang out with entrepreneurs that have made it, they're always humble. They're always,
I'll tell you where that comes from. I've been watching that over time. We actually went onto a trip once, and the guy that I went with was very wealthy, very successful in every way. So I thought this is going to be interesting to see how he travels. And we got off the airport, and then the car pulls up. It's just a black Lincoln Town Car. And I said, I was curious about that, with as many of us. Why the Lincoln Town Car? Why not a limo? And he stopped and he said, I will never be seen in a limousine. I'm never riding in a limo. I'm not going to be one of those people. And there was a lot of humility around it. Now, the black Lincoln Town Car is because they have a huge back seat legroom,
Right.
and he's tall, and they have a huge trunk that holds all the luggage. Very practical choice. And what I realized is if you look at entertainers, whether they're it's people in movies or in music, there seems to be more of like an ego or more about me.
Right.
But business success, like I know people who are worth way more money than Jay-Z and Beyonce and all of them combined, and you'd never know it.
Right.
They dress just like us, they walk like us, they drive normal cars, they live in normal houses. Maybe a little nicer, to be honest, but they're very humble. And so to me, the humility comes from the fact that they have tried their best to succeed and failed in every possible way.
Yes.
And you realize when you get beat down enough that you're not as good as you think, and you can only be great if you're around other people. And so the humility of seeing that happen drills it into you that we can only do that level of success if we're surrounded by other people who challenge us and encourage us and change the way we think and help us to believe is possible, and then look for a way.
You're absolutely right.
Instead of telling us we're foolish for trying.
You're absolutely right, Steve. And it brings up a point here. I was hanging out with one of the guys that I coach not even a week ago, and he was scared to step into groups of people that he perceived as higher up than him. And by higher up, I mean further along in the game. You know,
Yes, sir.
Nobody's higher up than anybody, but some of us have a lot more experience in the game. And this kid, he's mid-20s. And I said to him, I asked him, how does it feel when you talk to somebody that's a few steps below you or a few steps behind you, and you help them to accomplish something, and you help them get to the next level? He's like, I love it. It's great. I said, so when guys that are a couple of steps below you reach out to you and you help them, you experience that sense of joy and that dopamine hit from helping somebody out, right? He's like, yeah, right. I said, so take it from me. The guys that are 2 or 3 steps ahead of you experience that same dopamine hit when you reach out to them. Don't be scared to reach out. And it's great.
Like, was it Planet Fitness is the one, the $10, they have like a no lunkhead alarm or something like that. Like if you drop weights, it has a sound thing that goes off. So they're basically kind of perpetrating this, what I would consider for the most part a myth, that just because people are in shape, like, big muscles and work out in the gym, that they're somehow, they're not good people or they're arrogant. Every time I've been in a gym, and I'm not that guy, if you walk in and see me working out, you're going to come and ask my business advice. You're not going to ask me for advice about your physique or your workout routine, any of those things.
You're going to ask me where the best donuts are.
Right.
You'll be like, dude, where'd you get those tacos at?
What kind of beer do you drink for lunch? Or, but any of the guys that are in shape, I have never, ever once been in a gym where either someone didn't offer advice or be immediately receptive, respectful when they're working out, of course, and saying, let me tell you about my journey. Let me tell you what I do, and been very helpful. So I don't like the belief, I don't like any kind of segmentation or judgment. I'm as anti-judgment as I've ever been. I love what Jim Collins said, it's autopsy without blame. To me, it doesn't matter who killed this thing. I want to know how. Was it poison or gas? Or was it a bullet? Just tell me what I need to do to stop this from happening. It's not about the person. And so the judgment and the delineations, especially against rich people or wealthy people, is like, why do you demonize something that you want to be?
Right.
Why don't you just go figure out and talk to those people about how to be successful?
And every every hyper in shape person that I've ever met all has a story. I knew a guy that was a tremendous physique coach, model, pictures everywhere, thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram. And, 3 years before, he'd been 80 pounds overweight and depressed and suicidal.
He was usually emotional or physical pain.
Yeah.
Even David Goggins, he was a fatty.
Yeah, I've got several friends, 2 that I know for a fact are both, one is a active bikini competitor, one is an aspiring bikini competitor.
I assume that's female.
Well, Gary's a little bit strange, but they both had stories of how after they'd had children, they felt miserable and they were out of shape and they were fat. So when you're in the gym looking to these folks that are just absolutely stunning now, most of them will share the story with you and they will help you rack the weights and get on to the next exercise. And it's the same with business. We want to share. We want to share our failures and share with you guys that, hey, it's not the end of the world when this goes bad. This is a lesson. Write it down. Ask yourself what we learned and perform that post-mortem at the end and see what happened.
Debrief it for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, speaking about that, like I put on some weight this year. It's been one of the hardest years of my life.
Oh, damn.
Being honest. And there was a time when early in the year, I probably lost 20. Somebody asked me what I was doing and to lose weight. And I think, I don't think you want this plan, quite honestly. It was an emotional weight that showed up in lack of appetite. I could went 10 days without eating because I was just wiped out. And then got my mind back, got my thoughts back around me again, got my feet under me again. And then, put back into work or put back into other things, trying to get back on my feet and helping other people, and putting value back in the world. And then I flew in an airplane the other day and they said, we need you to step on the scale, get out how much you weigh.
Oh, shit.
We got to balance the length.
Like, no, flying bigger airplanes, dude. You're not going to do that.
So when I saw the scale, this is a public service announcement to all of your people. I just want you to know that COVID has affected our scales. Well, and they're all weighing heavier than they were before COVID.
I think that's what it must be. That, and I thought we were all going to die, so I did eat those Oreos this time. Yeah.
You don't want to save too many of those. And, I look back, I'm like, where am I? And the thing is, I'm off my goal. I have the goal. It's written down. And then just the mental, emotional energy has pulled me away from that part of my life. But because I have the goal written, I can remind myself, you have goals. Get back on that. And it's the same for business, is that somebody told me once, they said, I feel like I'm doing a bad job running my business. And I said, you probably are. And honestly, that shouldn't shock you. But if you'll tell me where you're doing a bad job, we can go fix that. And you can't do that without numbers. And if the numbers are present in your business and you can look at them and you can compare them against your goal and you can say, look, so yeah, I gained 20 pounds or I gained 50 pounds or whatever your number is, or I'm under my revenue target by $250,000, or I want to make $1 million. Break it down, man. Let's get the numbers. Let's measure it. Let's fall short. Let's be okay with that. If I can give one message, the things that I see the most that holds people back, it's fear.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely being afraid. And you can say, what I tell the kids, fear is what you feel. Courage is what you do. And just because you're courageous doesn't mean you're not afraid.
Write that down. Say it again. Write that down.
Fear is what you feel, and courage is what you do.
I like that.
Me too.
Words of wisdom from Steve. Good job, man. Well done.
To be able to use the word wisdom.
I use it very sparingly. Very sparingly.
It's hard-earned.
Well, one of the things that's made the biggest difference for me in business and in fitness, because, last October, I tore my calf playing soccer, and I'd done a really good job of all of 2020 staying active. And I was about as lean as I'd been. I was down to close to 220, which I'm 6'4". I mean, I'm not totally out of shape at 220. And I tore my calf, and it just derailed everything. And then I can't walk, I can't go run. And I'm like, well, one slice of pizza won't hurt. And it's like, well, 6 slices of pizza won't hurt. And, I weigh in middle of January and I'm almost 240. I'm almost a full 20 pounds heavier in 4 months. And that was shocking. And I did it like I approach everything else in business. And dude, I'm 40 now, and I've said this so many times in the last year. Boy, what I would have given to have learned that 10 years ago. I always use a notepad to stay organized. You'll see me on Facebook. I post with my notepad. I'm always writing it.
I see that. I tell you, as an encouragement, I saw your post. And you said, I take this picture every day. You talked about being disciplined.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of a wake-up call maybe for you, and you shared it, which I appreciated that. And in my mind, I think, what's it like when I start my day clean? You wake up early enough to be able to give some thought to your day.
Dude, I have...
you want practical advice, like that's it. Set your day up for success. Just quiet your mind and think about, what do I want to do today? And if you don't know, go back to the goals that hopefully you've written. And when you started doing that, I'm like, you know what? I want to come hang out downtown, sit at that table and write you don't have to talk.
Right.
I just want to write our to-do list together. And so I bought a picnic table for the office. It's set up outside. And so it's a quiet place to sit and just write, what am I supposed to do today? Like, look at my goals,
I love it.
Remind me where I'm going.
I love that I've motivated you.
Here, you motivate me to buy a picnic.
Dude, I love it. I love it. And please post pictures at the picnic table. Yeah. And the way I get to that and what I was coming around to, again, with fitness, with business, with quiet time, with reading time, with practicing my guitar, with time with my kids, every last little thing is scheduled. That's it. I had a friend, she said, you want to meet me for dinner? I said, let me check my calendar. All right, I'm going to send you an invite. She's like, are you seriously sending me a calendar invite to me? Yeah, I am. And that's it. Because everything I do is scheduled. And on my calendar, I know that 8:05 to 8:30 is my time. That's my quiet time. That's my sitting with a coffee. That's my lining out my day. I know in the mornings, I have to leave the house by 5:30 and start exercising. And I have to be back home and in the shower by 6:30 so I can be out the door by 7 o'clock to go on the school run. I mean, it's regimented, everything.
That's been a big thing I can speak about lately for me. And, you know, I don't have any problems being vulnerable with people about where I am in life. So not 40 anymore. I'm at 51.
Well, you wear it well. You don't look 51.
Well,
so well done.
I appreciate that. I realized something going through some of the emotional things I dealt with this year. Mm-hmm. It caused me to think about things that I never thought about. But one of these days, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I know that the casket is waiting for me. It is a story of the tortoise and the hare.
Right.
And you can sit and take a nap if you want, but time is still marching forward.
Absolutely.
I don't know how many days I have left. And I hope it's long. I really
absolutely. Yeah.
I want years and decades of time with them to take it back and be able to live that in joy and peace. But I realized it's a ticking clock. And there's only a certain numbered number of days that are left.
Yep.
So now what do I want to do with the rest of my time?
I
gave my time to other people and they didn't use it well. I didn't use it well. And I was careless in giving it to them.
You're exactly right.
So you know what? Not anymore. Take a seat. This is my show. Steve's show. So I'm going to write down what do I want to do. So this year, I bought this planner, this full focus planner.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
I like that. It's an amazing system that I would recommend only if you're ready for it. Otherwise, it's a bunch of work. But I wrote down my goals of what I wanted to do and what I want to be about. And when I write the goals, and I've decided these, 7 areas of my life, I'm going to make this intentionality. This year, 2021, for me, is going to be a year of intention, discipline, connection, and love. Because those are important to me. And when everything was taken away from this year and there's nothing left, you find out, what are you willing to fight for? I'm willing to fight for love, and I'm willing to fight for connection. And I believe in other people. I believe in business, and I believe in entrepreneurship, and I believe in capitalism. And I think it brings out the absolute best in us and makes our world a better place. And that's what I'm going to be about. And so when you write down what you're going to do, what you said you're going to do, then you step back and you think, well, shit, maybe I overcommitted. There's a lot of stuff in there. But you also think, the way that I'm doing this, the way that I'm working, the way I'm living my life, and I'm feeling it right now probably more than ever, it isn't going to work. I can go back and change the goals, but that's not what I said I was going to do.
Right.
What I said was I'm going to do these things. So now I've got to come back and restructure the way that I work. So a friend needed something the other day. I'm like, can I get in the truck and go drive it over there to you? And then I thought, no, I got my goals. I got stuff that I'm doing. I'll drop it off tomorrow when I'm on the way into work, because then it's convenient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you start restructuring the way that you think about your time. And it's not about just working as a slave. It's because this is what I said I wanted to do.
Yes.
It's emotional to me and it's important to me. And you know what? It doesn't matter to anybody else, because I didn't ask their opinion when I wrote this stuff down.
Dude, it's the most strongest asset you've got is your time.
And if you're one of the few people that I call to say, what do you think about this? Because I want you in my life and I want to know what you think about this. And then I may be calling on you for support on the days when I don't feel like I've got it, when I'm put on a backwards cap because I don't have time to take a shower. There's too much stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm committing to that because it's going to help me accomplish my goals. Because at the end of the year, I want to look back and say, that was mine. I took that, and it didn't come taken from me. It was something that I was able to put in intentionally.
Yes, sir.
If I find out it isn't what I wanted, at least I worked the damn plan.
Dude, when you
Next
commit,
year, get something different.
when you commit to a calendar, when you commit to goals, everything changes. I mean, I know it's fairly difficult to believe, but I get up at 5 a.m. and I am in bed by 10 p.m. 10:15 at the latest if there's something good on Netflix. But every last little bit of my time is scheduled right up to 9 o'clock at night.
So how much are you willing to sacrifice sleep for your goals? Or are you?
You know, I've done that in the past, and what tends to happen is I'll run flat out for 10, 12, 15 days, and I'll just sleep a day straight, and I'll lose a
So
day.
I'm back to 3 to 4 hours a night, and that's one of the things that I'm realizing that I'm not creating enough time for that.
I don't feel like that does me any good. I think what's best for me is to just, as long as I get 6.5 to 7 every night, I'm fine. What I find when I do the 4 to 5, I've not really done a 3 to 4 in a while, but I've definitely done a few 4 to 5s. What happens when I do the 4 to 5s and I go like fuck as hard as I can, I'll make it 10, 12 days, 15 days. You don't take a weekend, you're just hammering stuff out, and then that's it. I'm done. I have to stop, and I will sleep. Like, it doesn't matter if I set an alarm or not, I'll sleep till noon. I'll go to bed at 9 o'clock and I'll just sleep right through 14, 15 hours. And I much prefer to optimize my schedule to get as much done in that 17 hours that I'm awake.
So you feel like if you maximize your day, then you're...
Yes, I prefer to maximize that 17 hours. I mean, it's like when you come on a podcast, I sent you a list of dates that were available. It's all set up in my calendar. You just pick the day and click the link.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with it. I just know that at that point in time, I've got to be there. Now, if I'd looked this morning and there was nothing there, I've got plenty of work that needs to be done that can go into this. But I do my auxiliary work after the gym while dinner's in the oven cooking, and I'm sitting on the couch and I'll have my laptop out, and that's when I'll do auxiliary work. And if I get to catch up and nobody comes in for a podcast one day, then I've got that.
What are you considering auxiliary work?
Anything that I don't get done during my work day that I don't want to kick to the next day. Right now I'm looking for an integrator for Media Foundry. It's either going to come internally, we're just testing a few things out, or it's going to come as an external hire.
So you view yourself in the visionary roles?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely the visionary, the pusher, but
leaders are hard to find. There's so much trust that goes in that role.
But I'm trying to slowly remove myself from the Media Foundry ecosystem. They're doing okay. I can step away and step back, step away and step back. But I'm responsible for a lot of the creative direction. Not making the content, not any of that, but actually the conversations with the clients, the structuring of what this is going to look like, or what that's going to look like, or for case in point, we've got a client that we're having to record a bunch of testimonials for. We're redoing their website, and it's a case of, what do you want your website to do? Not what you want it to look like. What do you want it to achieve? What do you want it to do? Because the problem I had with Media Foundry, we were just a video company. We were doing fine until COVID hit, and then we got a pivot. And when we pivoted, we had just like national advertising accounts with national clients, and they come and they say, we want a video, make us a video. So we make a video, no problem, because they already had their distribution networks, all their channels set up, all their social media, everything. We were just providing content. We were a content provider. And what happened when we pivoted was, you can make a video for somebody, but if they don't have the right online distribution channels, if they don't know what they're doing with the video, or if they don't know what the video is for,
you just spend money.
They just spent. There's
going to go back to that, because you said
there's no return.
Said it really well. A lot of people get stuck in their website. This is just a practical tool for businesses that have, trust me, any size. It doesn't matter how big you are. This is a good pro tip for you. Stop looking at your website for how it looks.
Yeah, what does it do?
What is the goal of every website? For me, it's conversion.
Yeah.
And my first goal was I want to convert 4% of any traffic coming to the website
to what?
Leads.
You see, for me, I'm a little bit different on that. I know it takes several visits to convert to a lead. For me, I think the real purpose of websites is data capture, data acquisition.
Yeah.
And you're a little further down the line, but if we can even just get a tracking pixel, going
as
out.
soon as you start to measure it, my next question is, do you have the ability to measure traffic to your site? Which is like at 4%, I either want a phone call or a form or an email or something. I want some kind of conversion.
Yeah.
And when you realize, like, I've had professional marketing companies come and tear up my websites and put them back together the way they want it done. Like, you don't understand. I've optimized all this. It already converts. And so they'll make a little tiny change where a button goes or the wording of something, and all of a sudden the conversion rate gets cut in half. And it's like, that's not what I'm asking you to do. Go back to the goal. The goal is this thing either collects data or it clicks a button or you give me information, something. Tell me something that I want it to do. And then when it doesn't do that, which it usually won't, sit around with your friends or your partners or your coworkers and you say, here's the goal of this page. It's falling short. What's one thing I could change to make it better?
Right.
And then immediately watch the ideas flow towards the goal, not towards a bunch of independent ideas.
And that's the thing. Most people, when they put a website up, they just want a website. They don't even stop and think,
it's an online digital brochure.
Why are we doing this? And really, for me, there's a difference between websites for static business cards, like literally just like you said, an online digital brochure. And some clients want that. But the majority of clients don't understand that the website is to be used as a lead gathering tool. And you can actually write a website and set it up to where you are keeping the attention of the visitor. And people only get on the internet to do a couple of things. Like they either want to be entertained or they want to be educated, or they want to be engaged. But for the most part, when you're looking at a website, it's because you want to be educated as to what it is that I need to do to engage with this company. Like, there has to be a reason for you to engage. There has to be a reason for you to click. And the majority of companies that bring me in, I look at their website and it is literally just a poorly formatted, poorly put together, static business card that's designed to be viewed on a desktop. And when 80% of web traffic now is mobile. And there's no call to action. There's no desire to acquire data even. So we found, like, going back to where we were at, Media Foundry and me stepping out of it.
Yep.
We're bringing more and more work to Media Foundry from asking the why. Why are you creating this media? What is it you want to do? So a lot of my job right now that I'm kind of looking, that I call auxiliary work, is because I can do it at the cigar lounge. I can do it at the gym thinking about stuff. I can do it on the couch. It's the creative side of the why. What does this video need to look like? What kind of shots do we need for this? What kind of paragraphs do we need in this description? What does the flow of the website look like? And, I'll sketch stuff out in my notebook, and that I classify as, downtime work. I can do that when I'm not busy. And right now we're keeping up with demand. Foundry's never looked so good. It's got an absolutely full pipeline, and it's time for me to extract myself from it so that I can focus on podcasting and coaching and building more stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love the name.
Yeah, I came up with it myself, and then I started looking around, and it wasn't taken on Facebook, and it wasn't taken on Instagram, and the smallbusinesssurgeon.com was available, and I'm like, well, shit, I guess that's it then.
Really?
It just fit, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's very on point.
So you were instrumental in my decision to move forward into podcasting and coaching, and I got to thank you for that, because it's really
What did I say? I might want to say it again to someone else.
It didn't resonate with what you said. We sat in the coffee shop, and you gave me an hour of your time, telling me that I was ready to do this. And then I kind of didn't believe you. And then 5 or 6 other people that I respect tremendously also told me, hey, you should really do this. And then when I look back and see that I've coached 30 plus people in the last few months from the small business owners group that we set up, it just seems like the logical progression. And I get so much joy out of watching the light go on in people's eyes. And you'll know yourself the sense of relief that a lot of business owners get. The same relief I got when you and I had that first talk, and you helped me unscramble a bunch of things that were bothering me. I mean, that's why I do it. That's what I like about it. It's helping other people to avoid the same mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, there was a phrase that we had on the wall that said, "An expert is someone who has made every possible mistake within a very narrow field of study." And I like that view. One, because it has an element of humility instead of an expert is someone who knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes being an expert isn't about knowing everything. Like you said, maybe you're Googling faster than your competitor, watching the right YouTube videos to lay tile. And now you're an expert. It's more about, I know what not to do, but if you also know what to do, and you can put those two things together, you can be very powerful.
Man, that is seriously powerful. All right, Steve, before we get wrapped up today, I'm going to ask you one question that I like to ask all of my guests if I get the chance. And this is definitely applicable to you as you are in the coaching space. What's the biggest thing, the biggest nugget of gold that you would give or tell a guy just starting out in business?
The challenge for me is there's so many of them. Sometimes I think, what's the thing that's going to get you the greatest impact? And for me, maybe, I guess it goes back to, you have to fall in love with your customer. And remember that it's not about you, it's about them. So what is it that they want, or what is it that they need? A lot of times people start businesses based on what the owner wants to do, and what the owner feels like the market needs. But so as an example, like I went on a canoeing trip with the kids. Once you step inside a canoe, everything goes in there with you. If it's not in that canoe, it's not going.
That's true. Never thought about it.
Get in a car and go to pick up some toilet paper from Walmart.
Huh.
So then,
better get used to those leaves, kid.
Yeah. So when you get into a canoe and you're now a canoe camper, you have different needs. So what do they need? What do they need when it rains? What do they need when that thing tips over and all their clothes get wet? What kind of clothes do they need to wear? How do they start a fire? How do they eat? When you start thinking about, they need things to be lightweight. They need things to be dry. So let's go make dry, lightweight things for people who want to go camping in a canoe. There you go. That's how complicated business is. Find your people first. Someone that you know that you can relate to and think, what do they need? How do I help them get that? And as long as you're providing things that people need, then you'll stay in business. So many ideas that I've worked with, they start with what I call step 4. And step 4 is they got the idea, they got the product. And I have to go try to find out the people who want it and why it even matter. It's like, what if you chose wrong? Let's go back to the people first, find out what the core problem is, and sometimes you'll find a hidden opportunity that's way bigger than what you really
so many people skip that step. That is an absolutely outstanding piece of advice. And I know from my own personal experience that when I dialed my shit into the right people, life got so much easier. I didn't have to sell anything. They came to me to
Think about
buy.
Your small business owners. What is the problem? Usually a small business doesn't have enough resources to hire a lot of quality people. So you end up trying to save money, so you underhire with people who don't have capacity, and you get frustrated they can't do good work. And eventually you dial back on your dreams and you give up and bury those, and you start to accept normalcy. And you change your mind to believing that it's not possible. You're just going to hold what you got. So what those guys need, if they haven't given up on their hopes and dreams yet, is they need to know, they need fresh ideas, and they need hope. And so sometimes when I think about those guys, what do they need? I say guys or girls.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the term for that? But what you need is an idea and you need accountability. Just tell me what to do next, because there's so many things to do. There's so many videos. There's so many experts. You could do thousands and thousands of things. But what you need a simple system that you can follow, that you can wrap your mind around to be able to take control of your business and start growing again. So what is that? Usually it's going to be someone like you or I who's not emotionally connected to the industry, not emotionally connected to you and the decisions you've made, someone who's not afraid to tell you the truth. And so what you can do is, let's give you a fresh perspective, give you a couple ideas to exactly what you need to work on. Let's get your goals, get your numbers, and you're going to find that the pieces start falling in place and you'll start feeling hope again. Then you're going to need accountability or you're not going to do it, because the business will suck you back in.
I'm not trying to plug either one of our businesses right now, but I can't say how much paying for coaching has helped me as an entrepreneur and helped me through those exact things that you were just talking about.
Yeah, there was a guy that hired me a number of years ago. He had just sold a business for $2 or $3 million, which it's not a lot of money in terms of like setting you up long term. You
right.
can do something else.
Mm-hmm.
You can burn through that quicker than you realize, especially if it's undisciplined. But so he's sitting on this cash and he wants to restart. He's like, I want to work. I want to build something. And I was told, dude, you could help me. So we talked about what I do and where I thought I could fit in. And then, so why are you hiring me? Like, you built a multi-million-dollar business. You've sold one. It's very difficult. He's like, yeah, but it took too long. I don't want to do that again.
Right.
I need someone else's help. And I want to start from the very beginning because then I'll make more money faster if I can have somebody else help me along the way. And we did. I think we crushed it in that scenario. But everybody, your mileage is going to vary. But the more people you can surround yourself with that can help you, that care about your success, I think the faster you're going to get where you want to go.
Amen. Yeah. Focus on that group. Focus on that group. All right. Well, that is a good stopping point as any. It's just about time to wrap it up. Steve Tinkle, I want to thank you for coming in. You can find him online at LinkedIn. His moniker over there is Chief Doer. You can find him right there on LinkedIn. And man, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a blast. I love hanging out with you. You're one of my 5, and hopefully will be for quite some time. So guys that listen, go look Steve up online. And for those of you just finding the show, you can follow along at Small Business Surgeon on Instagram. We've got at Small Business Surgeon on Facebook. And do me a massive favor, if you would, go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review and write something nice about the show, because if you do that, it pushes us up in the rankings and it helps other people discover the show. And if it's good and you like it, then why wouldn't you share it? All right, guys, I appreciate you all so much. Steve, again, thank you for coming in, man. And we will see you all same time next week for another episode of Small Business Surgeon. You'll be good and stay safe.
This has been the Small Business Surgeon podcast. If you made it this far, you clearly liked it. So go on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. This helps people find the show and spread the good word. Share it with friends and follow us at Small Business Surgeon on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you for your follow-up next week. The Small Business Surgeon was recorded at Texas Media Foundry in downtown Bryan, Texas. Check them out at txfoundry.com. Ooh, yeah.